A reading from the Gospel of John in the 6th chapter. Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, also called the Sea of Tiberias. A large crowd kept following him because they saw the signs that he was doing for the sick. Jesus went up the mountain and sat down there with his disciples. Now the Passover, the festival of the Jews, was near. When he looked up and saw a large crowd coming toward him, Jesus said to Philip, "Where are we to buy bread for these people to eat?" He said this to test him, for he himself knew what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 6 months' wages would not buy enough bread for each of them to get a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what are they among so many people?" Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was a great deal of grass in the place, so they sat down, about 5,000 in all. Then Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated, so also the fish, as much as they wanted. When they were satisfied, he told his disciples, "Gather up the fragments left over so that nothing may be lost." So they gathered them up, and from the fragments of the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten, they filled 12 baskets. When the people saw the sign that he had done, they began to say, "This is indeed the prophet who is to come into the world." When Jesus realized that they were about to come and take him by force to make him king, he withdrew again to the mountain by himself. When evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, got into a boat, and started across the sea to Capernaum. It was now dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. The sea became rough because a strong wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and coming near the boat, and they were terrified. But he said to them, "It is I. Do not be afraid." Then they wanted to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the land toward which they were going. Abundant grace, mercy, and peace is yours in the name of our life-giving God. Amen. It is all about abundance. All throughout today's gospel reading, abundance, abundance, abundance. First, the crowd is abundant with at least 5,000 people. The grass is abundant. Now, this may not seem so extraordinary to us living in Wisconsin, but remember that this is the Middle East, where an abundant green pasture is hardly the norm. The boys' generosity is abundant, even if the offer to share his lunch seems woefully inadequate to the disciples. And the leftovers are abundant. From this feast where all are satisfied comes 12 baskets full of leftovers. It is this act of collecting the leftovers that most catches my attention. Had Jesus not instructed the disciples to collect up all of the leftovers, I don't know that many, or really any, would have realized the abundance that still remained. By asking for the collection of leftovers, Jesus draws attention to this vital piece of information. Yes, everybody is fed, and everybody is fully fed. But even more than that, there continues to be plenty more to share. That's a very powerful reminder that we all need to hear. So often, we start by identifying what we regard as limited resources, and then think about what we can do with that limited quantity. Jesus, however, completely flips the order. Jesus starts by recognizing the great crowd and their great need for food, and then challenges the disciples to consider how to feed the people. It is absolutely not a question of if. The primary consideration is how to respond to the need. Jesus intends to feed the people. And so Jesus proceeds to respond by feeding the people. And Jesus responds according to that sports expression, go big or go home. This is no half-hearted effort. No. All are fed, and all are satisfied, and nothing is wasted. They collect 12 baskets full of food, which will feed how many more people? Walk into any of our homes and open our refrigerators and freezers and our kitchen cupboards, and I suspect that there's a whole lot of food. Some of it is healthy and nutritious, and some of it is junk that really doesn't nourish our bodies, but it sure tastes good. Most of us have an abundance of food from which to choose each day. And often we find more on our plates than we really need to eat. And a whole lot of food gets tossed. While we live in a community and a country and a world where so very many people do not get enough to eat or do not get enough nourishing food to eat. Jesus feeds the crowd of 5,000 until they are satisfied, and then instructs the disciples to collect the leftovers so that nothing may be lost. That barley bread and fish is good, nutritious food, and thus valuable. And Jesus' concern about not becoming lost is a familiar theme. Time and again throughout the Gospels, Jesus expresses his love and care and concern for all so that nobody, no one, no person should fall through the cracks and become lost. Jesus' commitment is to absolutely every human being. No one is disposable. No one is without value. No one is to be ignored or neglected. Every person's life matters. Every person needs to eat. Every person needs food that nourishes and sustains and gives life. That the abundant crowd is fed with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish truly is a miracle. But that's not the end of the story, and maybe not even the main point of the story. The important eye-opener for the disciples and for us is to look for the abundance all around us, because it's there. God provides, and God provides abundantly. But it can be so very hard to look beyond our own needs and wants. It can be so very hard to share what we regard as mine, but which, like everything, comes to us as gift from God. So great is the temptation to hang on tight and not let go to whatever we have. Jesus invites us to open our hands and open our eyes and open our hearts and see what God can do with basic resources like 5 loaves and 2 fish that are released and shared and put to use for the many and not just the few. Amen.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to give us a like and even a comment. And please, please, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel.